Andy Whiteman, to be followed by Alex Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And I thank Neil Findlay for securing this vital debate. Like other members, I've been deluged with emails from constituents over the past few months in relationship to the proposals for an airspace change. And I don't have time today to go into fully anxiety, stress and impact that these changes have had on families in Winchburn, South Queensferry and places elsewhere who have contacted me. Suffice to say that this consultation has been seriously flawed. The airport operators have misled the public and have displayed an arrogance and contempt for public opinion. In my short contribution, I want to say something about why this is happening. Behind many issues such as this lie questions of governance. Tony Benn famously asked 5 questions of those in power. He asked, what power do you have? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable? And famously, how do we get rid of you? Now, in order to answer these, let's first understand what's going on here. The governance and control of airspace is governed by the Civil Aviation Authority and the National Air Traffic Service, or NATS. An airspace change is being proposed by Edinburgh Airport. The decision maker is the Civil Aviation Authority. The CAA's predecessors were the military, who controlled airspace in the 1930s through to the 1950s. Now, the costs of the CAA are met substantially by charges on those whom it regulates. In 2015-16, this amounted to £78 million out of a total income of £132 million. Meanwhile, NATS is a private company owned by the UK government and airlines and funded by airline operators. So airspace changes are initiated by private operators, in this case Edinburgh Airport. These plans are then evaluated by a regulator in the pay of the same private company. Presiding Officer, this is not a governance framework that can work in the public interest. And so to Edinburgh Airport itself. Who are Edinburgh Airport Limited? The company is owned by another company called Green Midco Limited. Green Midco Limited is owned by a company called Green Topco Limited. No such company exists in the United Kingdom. Green Topco might be a company registered in Luxembourg, or it might be a company of the same name registered in Grand Cayman. So when MSPs, MPs and councillors engage with the wide range of issues relating to the provision of aviation services in Edinburgh, where exactly is the line between the public interest and the private gain, and how can we ever know? Critically, are these proposals in the public interest, or are they designed to boost the asset value of a company to be sold off at a profit in the years ahead by a bunch of faceless offshore speculators? And so to Tony Benn's famous 5 questions. How might we answer them? What power have you got? Edinburgh Airport, NATS and the CAA have virtually all the power. Where did you get it from? They got it from Conservative governments who privatised the airports, who privatised NATS and who created the modern CAA, whose statutes privilege commerce and the needs of the private airline industry. In whose interest do you exercise it? Edinburgh Airport exercises power in the interest of its faceless shareholders in faraway tax havens. To whom are you accountable? Edinburgh Airport is accountable to its shareholders. The CAA and NATS are nominally accountable to the UK Government and Parliament, but are funded by the airline industry and thus accountable to private interest as well. How do we get rid of you? We can't without substantial political effort directed at bringing the governance of airspace and airports infrastructure under public control, regulation and oversight. As the CAA's most recent annual report states, and I quote, "Our airspace is a key part of our national infrastructure, but it is to all intents and purposes a private realm." That last bit is not part of their quote. Presiding Officer, Gordon Dewar, the Chief Executive of Edinburgh Airport, told constituents of mine who are campaigning against airport expansion, and I quote, "The people you need to blame are your politicians," he said. "They're the ones who sold the airport to us in the first place. What do you think we are going to do?" In conclusion, Presiding Officer, I can't help but think of a quote from Renton in Trainspotting. It's a shite state of affairs to be in, and our job should be to clean it up.
I know it was a quote, but can I remind members that they should be careful of the language that they use? And we move to the last of the open speeches, is Alex Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I'd like to start by congratulating Neil Findlay on bringing this